Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Finally getting to the video where I feature the $1 million Acapella Sphaeron speakers that I hinted at in a YouTube short about a month ago. And I could have just uploaded a video right then and there with $1 million speakers title and got lots of views. But as I thought about everything I did that day, I thought it deserved a more thorough treatment, because really what I took away from that day was more than just saying I could click off a bucket list. I saw and heard $1 million speakers, horns with plasma tweeters. Now I have heard acapellas before, but not those. Really, there was much more to it than that, and I want to share that with you real quick. You're going to hear from the owner of the system today in an interview, very fascinating interview. So the first takeaway I want you to pay attention to is not just, yeah, it's cool gear, but the other takeaway is that he outlines the purpose and the goals that he has. So many audiophiles, they're like getting into a car with not knowing where they're going. And then they constantly are just changing gear. And then that ends up being the hobby for them, constantly changing gear. They never have a goal of what they want to achieve and achieve it. And so what you're going to hear with this gentleman is that he had a specific goal. He did spend time with tons of systems in the past, spinning his wheels like everybody else. But he finally had a goal. Orchestras, and that's what he wanted to recreate in his home and get exactly what the mic captured, and you're going to hear him talk about it in that more detail. And then he got the people around him that I featured in prior videos that can put that system together for him. So again, it's not about if you had $1 million or $2 million, would you do the same thing? No, what are your goals? What did you try to accomplish? And one of the things you're going to hear in this video, very important, is he talks about how he sometimes fools people putting $2,000 pair of speakers, bookshelves, in that cabana room with the second acapellas, the Triolons. You can't really do it, fool people with the Sphaerons, but he puts the bookshelf, and people actually pick the $2,000 bookshelves as either they can't tell the difference or they prefer it over the other horns. And so what it highlights to him is that it doesn't insult him that he spent all that money on the Triolons. The Triolons do things that he wants it to capture. And other people, sometimes when they listen to a speaker, they want it to capture other things and do a different type of presentation. So it's not about the money per se. His percentage in his gear probably is no higher for percentage of his income than many of us with our system. So all that's relative, guys. I understand it's a lot of money. But thankfully we haven't had that many haters on my channel. I guess it's not big enough yet, but kudos to you guys. Have all been really cool with all the stuff I've been featuring. No haters so far, at least very few. But again, everything's relative. He's spending the money to accomplish specific goals, and I want you to make sure you take that away from this interview, as well as why I showed the interior of the gear and the build quality of the electronics, because that's another takeaway that I want to share with you. I've learned over the years. There's lots of gear that has fancy chassis, gauges, heat sinks, all kinds of cool stuff. And they're quite good internally as well. But what I found is the ones that do go to that nth degree under the hood, where you, the consumer, don't even know what's under there, but they're doing all these things. It doesn't guarantee that that's going to make a difference, big difference in sound quality. But let me just tell you, in my experience, when I go with those companies that are doing things that aren't easily appreciated with your eyes and spending that effort there, I've had better results. So I want to focus on brands like that. Now that's why I did with Aries Syrah, because that's another brand now that's elevated in my mind as one that can provide great aesthetics and the great internals. Same thing with this Berning and all these pieces I've been featuring lately. That's something that you should really take away and learn, and that's why I wanted to focus some videos on that, and hopefully you enjoyed that part of it. But without further ado, let's hear from Jim, and then I'll have a separate video like I normally do with music clips. Enjoy, guys. Yeah, this is amazing. So yeah, thank you for having me, first of all.
Sure. The path to this, it's an odd path. I grew up listening to classical music. My parents had it in the house. Altec Lansing, before JBL was JBL, and corner speakers was what they had then. It was mono, actually. But anyway, my first concert, I was dragged to screaming and yelling because it was a school night. I was in the 8th grade, and I wanted to see my girlfriend at the library. And my dad, who was a LA policeman, and the police could get into Hollywood Bowl. They invited police in to get at Hollywood Bowl. They could sit in any empty seat once the concert started. He told me we were going there Tuesday night. No, I can't. I mean, it was really a battle between me and my dad. We sat down in the seat. We were, a third of the way back. And after, I would say roughly 5 to 10 seconds, that started bum, 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 I was just grabbed. I was grabbed. And so we had a pleasant ride home. And since that time, I've been a big Beethoven fan. And I have been taking piano lessons. And about the only thing I can still play on the piano is the Moonlight Sonata.
Okay.
Movement. Used to play the second movement, and the third is way beyond me ever. But anyway, so that's been with Beethoven. Now, fast forward, way far forward, I would go to concerts. I was in Washington, D.C. We used to go to the Kennedy Center on a regular basis. In the middle of one concert, very quiet movement, I heard what I thought was the sounds coming out of the air conditioning system and the adjustments that they use some pressure up there and it changes the valves. It was a wintry night. I got out at the intermission, irritating, looking for an engineer to say, hey, you guys have got noise up there. And of course there was nobody there. I walked outside just to kind of cool my irritation off. It was snowing. The ground was completely covered with snow. If you've ever been in the city or anywhere where it's snowing, there isn't a sound out there, not a sound.
Okay.
Except I heard the same sound. I couldn't believe that. I put my hand up to my ears and I heard it even louder. That's my discovery of tinnitus.
Okay.
So that affected my stereo things for years and years and years, and I just mention that because you can overcome that. They used to say you either live with it or we can put a little sound in your ear, we can make wind blow, we can make ocean waves. Just get over it, don't think about it. I hear it right now because I'm talking about it. It's the first time I've heard it today. But anyway, so given what you can hear here, and I'm hearing just about everything that you hear, enough to pay every dollar to get to every higher element.
Right.
So I just say that. And now let's just jump. Insofar as I didn't go to concerts for like 20 years, but I started going again on a particular occasion to get you. My taste is to get close and close and close. And so in concert halls, that can be good or could be bad, because in many concert halls, if you're sitting in the first 3 or 4 rows, your head can be at the level of the stage. Mm-hmm. It can be at the level of the bench that the pianist is sitting on, or maybe a little higher than that. But so a lot of the orchestra goes over you, but you're used to hearing it close. And when you're hearing it close, you have a sound stage that's like this. But if you get back to the grand tier, which is usually about row L or M, the first rows up there, they're the most expensive seats in the San Diego concert hall. Well, all of a sudden, this is about stereo. I acquired the taste of getting closer and closer to the music, which gave me the wide soundstage. But yet music would sometimes go over my head unless they're sitting up on risers. Sometimes they're up. But anyway, so as I've been going down this audio path, after I had gotten past that tinnitus would bother me, I was able to increasingly, as I got exposure to things, I got more acute to the closeness and the tightness of the sound. You can see that I've got that concert grand piano over there.
Beautiful.
I can do just enough with that piano to make some noise on the piano, raise the top up a little bit, make some more noise, raise the top up all the way.
Okay.
And as I do this, I can do this like to the opening of, say, Beethoven's Fourth Symphony. There's just about 15 seconds of an opening to the Fourth Piano Concerto. So I can do that.
Okay.
And then you can put it over here and you hear it.
Same.
It's like, wait, this is better for every single of the chords that you know, it's just a repeat for about 15 seconds. So gradually, I have wanted to get closer and closer, and as we have, it suddenly hits me, well, what are we really hearing? What we're really hearing is what a microphone picks up 8-10 feet above. And in these old vintage records, so many of them had either 2 or 3 microphones, period.
Total, yeah.
And the only other person, so nobody in the concert hall, nobody with a stereo is ever hearing the music the way the conductor hears it, or the way those microphones hear it. And I dropped that on the whole industry and all the people who listen, and especially the people who are in the concert hall, because where they sit determines totally what they hear, and that determines what they want to buy. This little setup here,
Yeah.
I put that in the room when I have the Audio Society group come over here. It's a trick that now they all know. When they first used to come into the room, they told me how much they really liked those big acapella speakers out there. Wow, this is really great. And they were talking about it. I said, well, guys, you're not hearing them. You're hearing these guys.
Really?
They're astounded.
Wow.
These guys in a subwoofer made by Dr. Sue. You ever heard of Dr. Sue, HSU?
SHU?
HSU, he's a local guy up in Orange County. Anyway, $2,000 for those speakers, three pennies a foot lamp wire, and his $800 subwoofer.
Okay.
Half the people preferred that.
Wow.
The other half couldn't tell the difference. So only 25% of the audiophile people in the club actually appreciate what comes out of a smaller version of this, which is good for them, because it's just, if they only knew, and if it would
good
put
for
the
their
industry out of
pocketbook.
business, because so cheaply they could hear
Right.
what they want to hear. But as for me, it isn't, I want to have that sound that those microphones have. The people that didn't like it, their complaint was, well, we're hearing these little bits and pieces, and we like the full orchestra sound.
Right. Realism.
And I'm thinking, and I went down to the concert hall again, 2 nights in a row. Yefim Bronfman played the 4th Piano Concerto of Beethoven. I sat for like a $180 seat, I think it was, in the front row of the grand tier. And I sat in about the 8th or 10th row in the center. When I sat up there, I heard an orchestra accompanied by a little piano. When I got down in the 8th row, I heard a piano accompanied by an orchestra. And
same concert.
they tell you, that's the whole story. What do you hear? What do you want to hear? But when you sit in that piano right there and do those same chords in that same 4th Piano Concerto, as bad as I do it, that is the sound that's glorious. So anyway,
Sure.
So what has happened in this room since we got all this gear in here is that I believe that the listener sitting where you are is hearing pretty close to what the director of the orchestra is hearing. Keeping in mind that that is the guy who's able to tell which violinists should sit where, and which of them shouldn't come back next week, so he's hearing that detail
Right.
from this level. The microphone is hearing the same thing that he's hearing, and they're also hearing it they're getting, so that's what happens out of here. And even as you hear that fanfare, you get that picture. I've seen a live performance of this. I wasn't there, but there's something like 13, 12 different people doing horns at the back, all the way behind, and they're all over the place. You can't quite hear that distinctness here, but anyway, that's just that. So that's the goal. That's what you're hearing, and I think that these guys and a small number of other people,
Rick and
have managed
Steve,
to create it in this room. And when you're sitting in this room, and if you'll notice, I probably lost the. We haven't lost the tweeter. Just I gotta make noise. That tweeter needs noise, or it won't. It goes off every 15 minutes.
I think they're still on, Jim.
I know, but they need a sound. That's what we need. That just
keeps it from timing out. Yeah.
So, well, anyway, so that's where it's at. Now, relative to what we're doing, because this has just reached that stage about, the last thing we did on this was what, last week? Wednesday? Last week.
With Berning Engineering.
And so what I have been doing, just to try to, the other thing, incidentally, I've never been a huge fan of vinyl. And the reason I haven't been a huge fan of vinyl is surface noise. That's number one. Number two, I listen to symphonies. I don't like to get up at the end of the second movement, which is leading into the third movement, and in
Flip a disc.
In Beethoven's Third Symphony, the second movement is a funeral movement, and the third movement is a light, cheery thing. So you don't really like to have to get up in the doldrums of the funeral movement and walk over there, lift everything up, turn it over, clean the dust off again, clean the window, and get back into your seat. In the concert hall, there will be, if it's a concert hall with people that haven't been hearing too much, haven't been to the concert, they might actually ruin things by clapping after the second movement. But you don't hear that anymore because mostly for the price you pay, people, they don't know.
Sophisticated listeners,
But at least they only have to be quiet for 5 or 6 seconds, and then it picks up onto the third movement. So I just mentioned that. Now, so in order to just see how this is developing, I have, they were hearing it the other day. I've got several versions of the Third Symphony. I have 16 complete cycles of Beethoven on the CD, and I have about 3 or 4 or 5 complete cycles on vinyl. I've gone to the third movement and the fourth movement of the Third Symphony because they Beethoven has a style that includes a great deal of repetition of a short melody, and that melody will be picked up by a string, it will be picked up by a woodwind, it will be picked up by a different one, and so as you're listening to the movements where that's happening, you get a sound stage out of your system that will let you see that very thing that some of the folks didn't like is the very thing that starts to get very enticing. So, and then the other part though, that I said, I've just never been big on vinyl, and everybody's constantly, I mean, you talked to Fred, you were with Fred. Fred's got some 3,000 records over there.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
He's totally into vinyl. Rick is totally into the inferiority of anything other than the finest version of the vinyl. And I've heard those differences, and I must say that's true. But I'm also saying that the combination of the industry getting down to maybe 1 bit in the conversion, it's getting better and closer. So so what I was proposing to do when you got here was to just grab the same pieces of the Third Symphony, the same movements, and have you hear a couple, to the extent that it's of interest, at the end of which I would say, hey, there's a bunch of stuff here, put anything that you want on and listen to what it is. But I did want you to hear how a couple of different orchestras will portray that short part, and also let you hear what I think. When you're sitting in the isosceles triangle, those two tweeters will be in the center of, you can see this, you can move your chair and you will see them in the center. And I don't think that the room has an effect on the person. Obviously, if you're doing that big fanfare, I mean, you can't get away from that. And when I play organ music in here, it's amazing. The organ pipes are up there. I don't know how they get up there.
The pipe organ, actually,
But if you get back there, and you get up there, those organ, your head just goes straight up.
Wow.
So, anyway, okay. So that's the main point. What I've discovered is, I'm going to go ahead and do what I have on here. What we have on here, Von Karajan had 3 Beethoven cycles that were recorded, 66, I think. I've got a 70 something and 80 something, and I actually have this music on all 3 of those. But what I have, because I'm playing a CD and I'm playing a vinyl, and they are of the same performance. This is 1966, as it turns out.
Okay.
So, but the main thing here is just to let you hear how it handles and let you hear for yourself inside of, particularly here. Now, I think you can hear it throughout the room, but particularly when you sit here.